Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. Today we have Brittney Howard with us. So she served 7 years in the Air Force and spent her time at Anderson Air Force Base, Guam, and Alaska. So throughout her time, she faced many adversaries, including a domestic violence with a partner, which we will actually dive into, and a tremendous lack of leadership from her unit. Brittney went into the military to become a canine handler, and when that didn't happen or occur, she set out to make her dreams come true by starting her own dog training company. While now a successful dog training company in Virginia, when she's not doing that, she spends her time training dogs, training her staff, doing jujitsu, right? Jujitsu?
Jiu-jitsu.
Wow, clearly I need to work on my vocab today. And really just doing whatever she wants to do to be happy now that she is not under the thumb of Uncle Sam. So welcome, Brittney. I am so happy that you are
Thank
here.
you, fellow Brittney.
I know, I was like, oh, I got another fellow Brittney with me today.
I know.
Gosh, I love it. So I know we were kind of briefly talking prior to the recording, and we talked about the importance of telling the story and telling the story about domestic violence. So
Yes.
can you start off with kind of like your military journey, how it started, kind of how the domestic violence occurred, because you also mentioned the lack of leadership. So
Yes, that was huge.
Start off with your whole story.
Okay, from the start. Okay, so right now I'm on the East Coast in Richmond, Virginia. That's where I own my dog training company. But I started way West Coast in Portland, Oregon. I don't know if you're familiar with Portland, but it's like this really cool little hippie town. It's not little, but hippie town. Everybody there is just like, welcome to Portland. We love it. You know, everybody's very inclusive. It's very liberal. It's just a really cool place to grow up, you know, but I really didn't want to stay there forever. I knew if I didn't get out and see the world, I might just stay there forever. And I think a lot of people start like that in the military. They want to explore the world, but it's scary and it's safe in their hometown. So I really wanted to get out and just see the world. My dad was in the Army, my grandpa was in the Army and the Navy. I have another uncle in the Navy. And so it was just kind of like within my path to maybe join. I have 5 brothers. I'm the second oldest. I'm the only female. I'm the only one to have joined the military so far. I'm very blessed to have been able to been accepted into the Air Force. When I first thought about going into the military, I was a gymnastics instructor in Oregon, and I was just like bored and dating this guy, and I was like, oh, there's got to be more to this. You know, I really wanted to travel, and surprisingly, like my dad never. He was a recruiter, and he never was like, Brittney, come on, join the military. You know, he never tried to like lure me in. He was really supportive when I did want to go in. I actually tried to join the Army first, and he went in, and he was like, she's not joining the Army. And then we walked across the hall and joined the Air Force. Thank you, Dad. So happy that I didn't spend years sleeping in the dirt, wishing I was eating at a better chow hall. So happy that I did that. So when I joined the military, I went in, you know, you go to MEPS, you do all that business. Then I went to basic training and I turned 21 in basic training. I remember I was in mop gear and I like took a little canteen shot of water and I was like, I'm 21. Hello. And then let's see, my first duty station was Anderson Air Force Base, Guam. I had no idea where Guam was. I didn't even know we had a base there. Like, I didn't know anything about anything. And so I went there and I had a great time. It was amazing. I was there with a bunch of other 21-year-olds. We just partied a lot. It was really fun. I had a great time. Then, you know, trigger warning, this is where everything really kind of kicked off, as I met the wrong person and we just like died like instantly. And I had dated one person prior, the person I was dating before I went to the military, and so I didn't know anything about relationships. And you know, you kind of think you know about how people should treat you, how men should treat you, what dating looks like, but also you're really dumb in 21 and you don't know like anything about anything. And so there was warning signs with this person, and when we started dating, I saw them, but I didn't recognize them because I didn't really have anything to go off of. And so I was like, my 21-year-old brain was like, I feel like this is wrong. And the other side of my brain was like, but I'm 21 and we party and this is so fun and da-da-da-da. And so we ended up getting married. You know how everybody goes to their first duty station and get married. You know, I didn't have a kid. I don't have kids to this day, and I don't want kids. I have 2 dogs of my own. I'm like, that is good. I'm cool with that. Like, that's easy enough. So we ended up getting married so we can continue dating because that's just what people do in the military. It's really silly and stupid, but it makes sense when you're in for some stupid reason. So isn't it? And I swear, have you ever been married or are you married now?
Yeah, I am married, and I met my husband at my first duty station. We met in FTAC.
Oh my gosh, no, you didn't.
Yeah, we met.
Okay, wow.
And
wow.
We've been married.
Yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it worked, but like we kind of not like rushed it, but we definitely were like, okay, well, the military is going to separate us, so
right. I'm never going to see you again.
Yeah,
and
but yes, continue.
And it works out for a lot of people, and I'm very happy for you guys. And then in other cases, how long did you guys date for before you were like, let's do this?
I would say about 1.5 years, and then we were dating for about 1 year.
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very idiotic and stupid. But I married him to continue dating him, and he was going to be sent home because he was just a troublemaker, and him and like 10 other people got kicked out for doing all this like stupid stuff, and that should have been like, hello, he's an idiot who's getting kicked out. And I was like, you know, just like so dumb. And it's so funny because like that's not me now. I'm a business owner. I have 2 homes. I run a very successful business, like very tight ship with my employees. Like I have very good friends, you know, within my circle I've had for years. And so the behavior, like reflecting back on, I'm just like, that girl is so dumb. So dumb, you know. So we get into this marriage, and of course it like doesn't work at all. Like not even surprise. So he ends up putting his hands on me for the first time when we lived on duty or on base, and that was very shocking for me and jarring for me because I've never been in a fight, let alone had a partner put their hands on me. And you know, some of the very like explicit things he said to me during that and before that, I was very like, you know, that was that TikTok. It's like the woman was too stunned to speak. Like that was me. I don't know. My brain was like processing, and so that happened. And then, you know, kind of having your own coworkers arrive to your house to respond to a scene is it's very humiliating and embarrassing, and it's just very like eye opening. And my leadership just wasn't helpful at all. You know, there were signs. You know, I used to show up to work with a black eye. You know, like it was just like it was so effed up. It was so messed up. And my friends saw it. They're like, "Dude, Howard, like what is the fuck? You have a black eye? What the hell?" You know. And nobody routed it up the chain because we were all 21 and everyone's trying to figure out their own business. And I don't fault anybody at all if they're not telling the supervisor because you're 21 and you're like, oh, it's not my business. I'm concerned, but I don't know how to get involved. I don't want to get involved. I don't, especially in the military, it's like, if you appear to be attached to anything that is not like progressive in your career, you're like, I don't want to touch it because then I'm attached to it, and then I could get put on like Red Squad, which is like religious duty. They might send me to mental health, which means I'm going to DM, which means I can't work, which means I could be kicked out of the military, which is a very unhealthy aspect to the military. There is no encouragement to reach out for help. Nobody tells you to get therapy. If you go to mental health, you are like the leper, you're the plague, gross, don't talk to that person. And it's so messed up because there's so many suicides in the military, especially in the cop career field. Like we had multiple people commit suicide at my first duty station. I wasn't around, I just heard about it. And then my second duty station, literally people would, I wasn't there. There was a girl who armed up, went into the stairwell and committed suicide. You know, it's very shocking. It's very sad. And it's truly, I truly blame it on the leadership of the military and how they fail to speak to people about their emotions and their feelings, or like saying I feel sad because XYZ, that is such a strength. And especially for the men, like I really, really feel for the men in the military because as a woman, I didn't feel like I could be like, hi, hello, I'm mentally ill right now. I need help. And then men, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, you're so weak. What are you? It was like, oh, you're such a pussy. It's like they're so afraid of being labeled like, maybe they're afraid of being labeled gay. Maybe they're afraid of being labeled like a pussy or a reject, or. And so I didn't feel safe in the military to say, hi, I'm sad. Like, I need therapy. After my domestic happened, it happened twice. We got kicked off of base because of what happened. And then I didn't really know what to do. So I stayed with him because I was like, oh my God, I'm 21. I'm alone in Guam. My friends ditched me. I had two girlfriends that after the domestic happened, they're like, yeah, ew, you're the plague. We can't be friends with you. And they literally stopped talking to me that day. Never spoke to them. I spoke to one girl later. I was like, dude, that's kind of like fucked up what you did. She was like, yeah, sorry. I just like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, no, like, delete your trash. And so it happened again. And this is where my leadership like really failed me is not that they can't stop me from being with him, right? Nobody can force you to do anything you don't want to do, but they could have stepped in and said, oh, Airman Howard, this is like a very traumatic thing. This is affecting your brain in a way that you don't comprehend. Your brain's not even developed yet. You're under the age of 25. So your brain, you're still a smooth brain. Like, you don't know what's going on. You need to learn things. Nobody said anything to me. The first sergeant, the biggest POS I've ever met, I hate that motherfucker. He said, well, maybe you should just sleep better. And I was like, wow, thanks, bro. Fucking really good advice.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, dude. It was so fucked up. Like, he is such a piece of shit. He did more things to harm people in that unit than anything else. And there's an exception to policy where you move off of base or you get married, you now have furniture, you have a dog, which I did. I had all this furniture, I had a dog. I had all this stuff for being in the house. There's an exception to policy. That means the policy is that if you're between this rank and this rank, you live on base. Well, the exception to policy is like, you're a dummy, you ain't got your name. So now you have all this crap. You just fill out this paperwork, and we're gonna let you keep all your crap, and you're gonna stay off base, but you're not gonna have like dependent pay. He didn't tell me that was a thing, and I come to find out it was a thing because my friend, him and his wife got divorced, and he got to keep all of his crap. But it's like because I got into domestic, and I was now the like gotta like watch her. She's a troublemaker, They didn't tell me any of that, so I got rid of all of my stuff. I sent my dog home to a family member to watch it, which was insanely expensive. It was just like one of those things where it was just like, it's a good thing I'm like have a good head on my shoulders and I'm confident and I know how to like help myself because I didn't get any therapy after that. I didn't get anything. I spent time really like contemplating what I wanted in life after that and like who I hung out with. I stopped partying as much and I got into the gym a little bit and I helped myself, but I don't have this on my disability. This is not on my disability because it was never tracked that I had PTSD or anything like that. And so there's zero paperwork that this ever happened to me besides the one police report that happened in 2014, which is probably in the trash now. So there's no record that this even occurred. And there's so many other men and women that have been through sexual assaults, domestic violence, just intimidation by leadership or whatever, and it's not reported because it's not supported to say you are being hazed or you are being abused or you are being neglected. There's no reports on it because they don't encourage people to have an emotional, intelligent voice in their head because when you do, they push that down, they punish it. And so you go like, I'm fine. It's cool. I don't care. I'm totally fine. Which then leads to more divorces, suicides, people being loners, doing things, living in these magical, beautiful places like Germany. They don't ever go outside because they're just mentally messed up and nobody wants to help them get out of whatever they're in. So that was rough, but I definitely came out of it, and I am not glad that it happened to me in any kind of way. I am just glad that I was able to come out of it a better, stronger person.
So one thing that for me, like to try to wrap my head around is you were a cop. And then obviously when these are situations, and you kind of mentioned that your peers come to your house. So obviously any situation, especially on base, the cops go to that situation. So
Right.
how did your, like, when people go to the houses, is it just fellow airmen? Is it NCOs? Like, in your situation, how did someone, say if they were an NCO, not route it up or write that report? Like, did it just get
So
pushed to the side, or?
there's always a report done. So there was a couple airmen that came to my house. We also had civilian workers that work as they're called DAF, Department of Air Force. They're just civilians that work on base with you. So there was like one NCO there, a couple airmen, and a couple of the DAF officers, and they have to fill out a report every time they respond to any, like somebody's on the side of the road and they had a flat tire, or whatever. And you have to fill out some sort of like kind of report. It goes into the blotter. Leadership sees every single blotter, so they see everything that happens. No idea. It's really crazy because they responded, and I remember like crying in front of like my coworkers, and just so weird. And then to like go to work with them the following week, and I'm just like, what's up? Like in a car with them for 14 hours, and nothing happened. The domestic happened. The people showed up. The police report was filed, and then that report just like went into the abyss. I remember my supervisor talking to me about it. He was like super awkward about it. He didn't know what to do. He was like, "Okay, on Howard, I guess. Tell me if you need anything." And then was like, never talk about it again. It was like very, very hush hush. Nobody knew what to do. I was never told to. Like for me now as like somebody who's in charge of other people. Like should have been like taken in and like something probably off duty, not at work, where it's like you're like, hey, I want to take you out to lunch. I want to talk about everything that happened. I want to make sure you're cool. I want you to feel that you can speak to me about this stuff. And then I would have given that airman a list of things that they could do, and I would say, hey, I'm going to call and set you up with an appointment for the chaplain or mental health or whatever. I remember I was given a brochure, and they were like, here's your form. It's called a VWAP. It's a Victim Witness Assistance Program brochure, and it says, hey, if you feel shitty, call this number. And then that was the support I got, was a brochure. And I have no idea. It's really, really crazy. And the more that I like think back on it and reflect on it, I'm like, did this even happen? My brain's like gaslighting itself. Like, did this occur? Because it's just it's like this weird, fucked up, like imaginary fairy tale. Like, not a fairy tale, but you know what I'm saying? It like sounds like some story that is just like so far off and pretend. Like if a 21-year-old was like in this really, really dangerous scenario, somebody who wanted to like inflict bodily harm on them, you would like do something to save this person's potential life of like, because a lot of women would stay in that relationship or they would die. Like that's, to be frank, that's people dying from domestic violence situations all the time. Like we all listen to true crime now. We all know about all of this stuff, and so for them to do nothing, it's so laughable and cryable and just sad and fucked up. And I just like really want to be, I don't know how to be an advocate really for women in these situations, but like I want to be because I had nobody. And if there was somebody that was like, here, take my hand, I wouldn't help you, I'd been like, oh my God, please, I need it.
So do you, like, what, you kind of mentioned like how you kind of wished your leadership and your peers handled the situation, but what do you think would have created a difference for you from your leadership? Because do you think it's also the lack of knowledge? Like I know with like the Air Force, they always like push down your throat like, oh, here's victim advocacy and here's this, but like we just know the numbers. We don't really know. Right. Like there's not a lot of education that goes into, okay, what do they provide?
There's not. Yeah, that's a really good question. There's not a lot of education, and I think my leadership was uneducated on the matter too, because again, everybody's taught to have zero emotional intelligence, and so they have a lot of intelligence for regulations, rules and regulations. They're like, 2903, your pocket's sticking out. They know how to enforce that, or like, hey, female, your hair is like not as like tight as it should be. Now all the females can have like braids and like long ponytails, and I'm like, bro, what? I got bitched out for my bangs before they're out of regulation, Yeah. So they know how to. What?
I said, yeah, me too.
Right? We all have like our hairlines are all receding from having like slick back hair, like stress and bumps on the back of our neck. Yeah. They know how to, so leadership really knows how to enforce black and white items. Oh, your hair looks messed up, slick it back. Your pockets undone. You feel like this from on? No. But things that are gray when it comes to the humans that are so gray and flexible, there's not a lot of education. So there is this resource, it's called the MFLACs, the Military Family Life Consultants. They do a really good job. So how it works is a counselor at each duty station for a temporary amount of time. And so that's meant to be like, okay, I could go speak to this MFLAC counselor for 8 weeks, once a week for 8 weeks. And then they leave and they go to another duty station. So then it gives me another chance to speak to another MFLAC counselor that's new, doesn't know my story, is not looking at me with these like eyes that knows all my drama, I guess, is the idea. I think it's really like a financial staffing thing with the military, because I think it would be nice to have continuity with a counselor, but it would be nice, I think, if like MFLACs would go into units, especially like units of people that deal with, maintenance. They're working 14, 15 hours. Cops, same thing. Cops see some jacked up stuff. I think MAs, mortuary affairs, they see like, I don't know. There are services too, but they see like dead bodies and stuff, and they need to speak to therapy. People in medical, they see a lot of like crazy stuff. I have a friend who's a respiratory therapist. She sees some crazy things, and so I'm pretty sure they have that position in the military. So it would be really nice if they would have these like MFLACs or counselors going around and not just saying like, hey, I'm MFLAC, this is my card, call me if you need anything, but like having like clubs, so to say, how you have it in high school, you like stay after school, and you have like your chess club and this club and acting club and whatever. I think it would be really cool if there was some sort of organization that had these like kind of on the down low meetings where it's like, we're going to meet kind of like an AA meeting or something. We're going to meet every week at this location. Come, don't come. But if you come, nobody's going to know in your leadership. But come here and talk about how sad you are, or how fucking angry you are, or how you miss your family, or how like maybe your boyfriend's abusing you, or whatever. And then we can talk to you from a more like educated perspective of a counselor that's like, oh, how does it make you feel? Why do you feel like that? Why are you attracted to someone that is talking to you like this? And really do some like deep diving, because I didn't know why I was attracted to someone who was like human trash, and that was something that I had to discover within myself of, why do I like this human trash? What's wrong with me right now in this version of myself where like I think I deserve to be treated like this in some fucked up aspect.
So what was your like final straw that broke the camel's back to be like, all right, I need to leave, like I need to get away from this individual? Because like you said earlier, a lot of people stay in those situations.
Mm-hmm. They do. A lot of people do say it. I would say the final straw that broke the camel's back was he started throwing suicidal ideations at me. It's like, oh, if you do this, I'm going to do this to myself. And then the first time it happened, I was like, no, I'm so sad, And then he kept doing it, and I was like, this is manipulation, And then I saw he was manipulating. He's trying to manipulate me, my brain, just selfish. And so it really was the amount of trauma I went through with him that made me numb to the situation. And I think if it was just happened 1 time, 2 times, I would have been like, it's a thing of the past, But because it kept happening, and because when I would try to help him get better, because he was messed up, that's why he did what he did to me. And I don't hate him. I used to have a lot of hatred towards him. I have a lot of compassion, and I feel sorry for him. He's jacked up. His family's jacked up. He is not a right human. He's not happy. He might be happy with the crappy level he's at, but he's not a thriving individual. He's like a sewer rat. He's going to live through every catastrophic event. He'll still be here, but like not thriving, And so once I just saw that, like, okay, this person is crazy. This is actually a mentally ill person. And then I kind of saw the manipulation, because I could recognize the manipulation he was giving me. I was able to kind of sit back and go, I'm too smart for this. What am I doing? It's like my brain had 2 sides. It's like my brain developed this like motherly, like maternal like oversight, and part of my brain was like, you're too good for this, And so like thankfully my brain caught up to speed, because part of my brain was like, yeah, it's happening. I'm scared. You know, and my other side of my brain is like, no, fuck this. Get up. Get away from this loser. Go do something better with your life. You're not near any family or friends. Pick yourself up. Figure it out. And that is the hard thing when it comes to trauma. Is that at the end of the day, you got to get over it. Like no matter what happens to you, that is such a harsh, frank way to say it, but that's how I got over it. It's because my brain was like, figure it out, girl. I don't know. This happened. What are you gonna do about it? Figure it out, you know, because I tried to like kind of mope and like baby myself and that didn't work. And then when my brain was like, what are you gonna do? You have to get over it and figure it out, you know? That's when I was like, you know what? I'm too good for this. And I remember when I left the island, he was in an orange jumpsuit, in shackles, in court with me. And I was like, peace, loser. I never want to see you again, ever. Bye. I also had I dated somebody probably like 9 months after that too. And he was like my recovery relationship. He was so nice to me. He was so sweet. He like taught me how you should be treated in a relationship. And he like really repaired a lot of my confidence. And so that other relationship really helped me. You know, before that, I was like, peace, you're a loser. And then after that, he helped like mend my emotional wounds, which really helped me become a more confident, like resonate within myself type of person.
Oh, well, that's good.
I'm really happy. I'm really, really lucky for that relationship.
That's good. It was like a little light at the end of that dark tunnel.
It seriously was great.
So how do you handle your mental state and how did you build that confidence? I know you said that relationship helped build some of that confidence, but that could probably only do so much. So how did you continue to build that confidence and handle all of everything that happened to you? So your mental state.
Yeah. It's a great question because you can really backslide, you know, later you can have this like high and you can really like, oh, yoga honestly from dog training. You can really like backslide. So I would say that I come from a really, really strong family, like personality wise, of people that are just very like kind of headstrong. Like my dad was in the military, my grandpa, my mom, my stepmom, you know, everybody is just like really, you know, positive and loud and charismatic and funny. And so I really come from people that are like, get up, do it again. Get up, do it again. You know, nobody in my family is like, oh, I can't do it. You know, and so it's within my like spirit to have like grit and just like get over things. And I've always been the type of person to look at things. You know, the grass is green where you water. I remember before I went in, my dad was like, look, I was stationed some people in Germany and they never left their dorm, you know, and it's like, well, do you hike? No. Or do you ride a bike? No. Do you hang out with your friends at the bar? No. Okay. So you do nothing, you know? So I really come from family that is just like, has a lot of grit and is just like, do it anyway, figure it out, you know? And so I had that within me the whole time. And then I really focused on going to the gym and hanging out with my friends and just like saying yes to a lot of things. Like if somebody said, oh, you want to go to the beach? Yes, I'll go. Do you want to try this? Yes, I'll go. Do you want to go to this market? Yes. You know, and so I really forced myself to say yes to stuff that I maybe didn't want to say yes to because I didn't know about it. It wasn't my interest or whatever. But, you know, I met some really cool people. You know, we ended up like renting mopeds and going all around the island and going to these cool like tomorrow food markets and doing jujitsu in Guam and just pushing the bounds. And that's really carried into my life now is where I say yes to a lot of things. But because of the domestic that I went to, I also say no to a ton of things. This is another thing I did is I got really, really hard on my values and my boundaries. And I actually wrote them down as like, what do I want out of a friend? What do I want out of a man? What do I want out of a job? How do I want to feel waking up every single day? I remember when I was a kid, my grandma was like, Brittney, you got to make a man list. And I was like, what? She was like, a man wish list. And I was like, that's crazy, Grandma. And she was like, no, I'm serious. I want you to write down how tall your imaginary man is. What do they look like? What's their hair like? What do their teeth look like? Their stomach, their arms, you know? And I was like, that's crazy. And then after this, I was like, Grandma's got a point, you know? And so I made a list of like, what do I want out of friends, a man, relationships, work, what do I want my family relationships to be, you know? And so I really say like, no, that doesn't flow with my like self, you know. And then other things I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then I'm like, no, I don't drink a lot. I don't want to go out a lot. So I am gonna stay home. But you have fun.
Those lists can be definitely beneficial. And yeah, grandmas are always right. It's something my grandma would probably say to me too.
They always know what's up.
They do. They have some life to them. So with all of this that happened, was this the reason why you got out, or was your contract up and you're like, you know what, I want to start my own business?
I didn't start my business until I got to my second duty station. So I've always wanted to be involved with dogs somehow. As a kid, I would like drag my mom to the shelter and she would sit there for like 8 hours while I like played with dogs and scrubbed kennels and, just was obsessed with my passion. So that's why I originally went into the military, is to work with dogs. I saw a brochure with like a cop and a dog, and I was like, I want to do that. That is so cool. I want that to be my job. I don't really know what it is, but I want to do that. So that's why I went in. In the Air Force, you can't apply to cross-train until you're 9 to 15 months out of leaving your duty station. And so I couldn't do it at my first duty station. And then the domestic stuff happened. And so they weren't going to help me like process that packet to go through. And then I was promised to my second duty station, within that window that I could have applied. I was already promised to J Bear, my other duty station. And so I was like, well, I'm never going to go. Like, what the hell, And so I spent a lot of time at the kennels. I was always doing demos. I was always in the bite suit. I was always there carrying food, washing dogs, scrubbing kennels, asking to be posted with the canine handlers while I was working. So it was always my mission to somehow like be touching a dog or like be asking this handler so many stupid questions. Like, what's your favorite dog breed? Like all these like redundant questions. And then I started dating this really nice guy at my second duty station. We dated for a year and a half. We got married. And I'm not married anymore. But we had a very good relationship. He's a very, very cool guy. We just wanted different things in life, but he helped me along the, also continuing to heal myself. He was a really, really good guy. But he deployed, and I was like, what do I do? You become so obsessed with each other. You like, especially when you're newer, you hang out every single day and you like don't do a lot of other things. And so I remember when he left for 9 months. I was like, okay, what do I do now? I was like, I should start a dog training business when he is gone. So I like stay busy and I'm like productive and, So I started it originally to just like stay happy and like stay busy. And I was like, nobody's going to pay me to train their dog. Like, I'm just like some kid. I'm like a senior airman. What do I know, And so I started this dog training company. I remember posting my Facebook page with a video of me and my old dog, and like actually got some traction and likes, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it was cool. It really opened my eyes to like just try and see what happens, just try, right? Just try. And that's why I'm so big on like pushing people, like anybody that's like, I have this business, I'm gonna do it. Do your business idea. I don't care what it is. Do it. I will help you. I love seeing people just try things, especially things that can make them money outside of the normal box of like 9 to 5, because that is a big trap for a lot of people. And entrepreneurship is something that my brain is always thinking about. And so like with you and this newer podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, it's so cool. I'm gonna be a part of it. That is so awesome. I'm like totally a girl's girl. I want to like support women and like push people to just try anything. Like just throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. We'll see what happens.
So what would be your advice on how someone should get started?
With a business or just with anything?
Yeah, with business, because now you're transitioning from military to businesswoman.
Yeah.
Or just like in anything.
Trying is so hard. When I first started putting out videos, they were trash. They were absolute trash. You could hardly hear me. The frames, I had a bunch of junk in the background and whatever. But I remember this one dog trainer I used to watch. She said, just put it out. Just put the content out there. The person that receives the message doesn't care about what's in the background or what's there. Just put it out. You will slowly get better over time, but just like put it out. You're scared? Get the F over it. Just put it out, And so I really took that to heart, and I just started taking video everywhere I went, and it was so not great. And my first name for my company was Canine Inc., like INC. I didn't know that you couldn't put INC in your name if you weren't incorporated. I didn't know what incorporated meant. I didn't know what like an LLC was, an S corp. I didn't know anything. I was like, Uncle Sam tells me what to do. I know that, like, literally. Uncle Sam pays my bills. Uncle Sam tells me when to go to the dentist. Which the military creates a lot of learned helplessness, which is like another big other topic that is like so sad. So I would say if you're looking to get started in like a business or a new hobby, or you just want to push your bounds, I would say get on YouTube. TikTok is like a huge search engine now. Get on some sort of searchable like platform: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, which is like a website where you just watch people like live stream. I don't know if it's around anymore. Just start using your brain as a sponge. For me, when I drive, I'm really trying to learn like AI Midjourney image creation right now, which is really, really rad if you've never messed around with it. So I would just play 30-minute YouTube videos as I'm driving, because I also have ADHD. And so if something's playing in front of me, I also have to be tinkering with this over here or tinkering with this, And so if I'm not tinkering, I'm not like, I can't do it. I'm like, oh, good, I gotta tinker, And so if I'm driving, I can't tinker with stuff. And so I'm forced to like listen to the thing that's in the car, like just talking to me. So I have to do it. So like, I don't even really listen to music anymore when I'm in the car. I'm just like, learn. Like my brain is so like, I have 2 podcasts right now of my own, and I'm working on editing with different AI platforms. And so I'm just like, I love learning. Like, it's so fun. I'm just obsessed with learning. And so you have to become obsessed with learning. I would say find some speakers that you are obsessed with. Like, I am obsessed with Alex Hormozi, and I'm obsessed with Gary Vaynerchuk. Right? You know him?
Yeah.
He's the best stuff. Oh my gosh. Right? And he has a really cool story too. And he started out just the same. Just try. But he used to be like this wine connoisseur, and like his videos were trash, he said, and they weren't any good, but he like slowly got, way, way better over time. And now he has Vaynerchuk Media, and he has GaryCon or VCon or whatever it is. He has like his own NFTs, and he has all this stuff that wouldn't have existed if he just didn't go, let me just see what happens. And I think a lot of people, myself included, struggled with imposter syndrome in the beginning. Like when I was a dog trainer in the very, very beginning, I was like, who's going to pay me? Like I knew that I had skills and I knew that I could train a dog, but I didn't think that other people knew that I could or perceived me as a professional. And so I really just faked it until I believed it, and I just did it. It sucked. But then one day I was like, oh, you know what? I feel like I actually know this in and out, so now I'm not faking it anymore. I've been playing pretend this whole time, and now I actually believe it. So let's do it.
Yeah, that growth mindset really can transform a lot of.
Yeah, the mindset is it. The mindset is it. A lot of people, they're stuck on this like repeat loop of speaking negatively to themselves. Another speaker I like is Mel Robbins. Have you heard her?
Yep.
She is amazing. She had the speaker on, was it? I think she was actually just talking to her husband, but she had this challenge where he would go in the mirror and tell himself, I love you, in the mirror. And he would cry because he had this like block of like looking at himself and saying, I love you to himself, because he didn't love himself, and so just saying these little things to yourself, like, you're doing a great job. I love you. You're such a good person. Like, you're doing amazing. I can do this. Like, all the stuff you say as a kid, like, you can do whatever you want to be. We say that to kids all the time. And as adults, we don't believe it. Another thing that we say to kids, or kids say to each other, is like, I'm rubber, you're glue. Anything you say bounces off me and sticks to you. And while that sounds like just some riddle we say as kids, like, that is the most truest shit I've ever heard, because how we speak to each other is how we speak to ourselves and how we have like a self-representative. And so if somebody's really, really mean to you, they're probably really, really mean to themselves. If somebody's really nice to you, like they're probably really, really nice to themselves. And so when we learn how to treat ourselves really, really well, we treat everybody else really well, and then like attracts like. Just like if you're a really rotten person, like my ex who I had a domestic with, he only attracts really rotten people, and my inner like compass was like, you don't go with that. You need to like be with my girl because you're not trash and he's trash and you guys don't align.
Yeah, there is psychology and like studies based on like the positive affirmations and how you speak to yourself. I decided to go back to school, and I was, well, because I do Audible, like I kind of do the same thing like you do. Like I
Yeah,
on my
Audible's
drive, like I'll,
addicting.
it is, it can't, yeah. And so I'll just listen, especially if I have a long drive, I'll put an Audible on and just like listen to books because, you know, I have too many kids and I don't have time to read. So that's how I get my reading in. So anyway, it was called, I think, shit. It's a learning book on like strategies of learning or something like that.
Oh my
I'll
god,
type it
learning how to learn is so important.
and they were saying one of the tips that was saying is if you could say, like, if you're telling yourself, oh, I'm not smart enough for this, or I'm not going to understand this, like you're negatively speaking about your learning,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna learn it. But when you're
Right.
like, I can learn this, I will learn this, I want to learn this, there's something that happens in your brain where that learning actually sticks, which I
Yes.
thought was like so crazy because it's true. It's the way that you talk to yourself. Like it really determines like how you view yourself, how you view the world, how you view other people. So I'm so glad that you brought that
Mm-hmm.
up because there is, like I said, there's so much research in positive psychology. Like I am not going to speak on it because I'm not, you know, a psychologist, but there is like a lot of things. So if people are interested, you should definitely look into learning more about how positive affirmations and positive psychology can,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
huge. It's it is huge, and it's the crazy thing is the generation we're in, and Gary says it too, is like this is the best era to be alive in because anything you want to learn, as long as you have a phone in your hand, you could learn it. I
hmm
mean, anything. I think there's things to be realistic about. I think don't be totally like delulu about everything. Be a little realistic with things. Like I'm not going to say that I want to go become an Olympic swimmer because I don't know. That's just like not up my alley. I don't really care about that. Now, could I become a really good swimmer if I like learned it and tried it? Like hell yes. I don't have that desire, you know. So I'm going to be realistic about where I'm searching and pouring my energy into. But like money is out there that is just sitting and waiting for you to like grab it, and it could come from anywhere, from like OnlyFans, power to the women and men that do it, you know, to like e-commerce, to like Gary says one of the things he says to do to make money is like go get free shit off of Facebook and then sell it. There's so much opportunity out there. Like you just gotta freaking try. So when people are like, oh, I'm like, did you try? Did you try a crazy plan? You didn't? Shut up. Shut up and go try. Just try it. Shut up and go try.
There's another thing that Gary Vee says that it kind of resonates too. Is you're not, if you're in your 30s and 40s, stop thinking you're too old to start over or you're
Yes.
too old to, you know, try something new. He's like, you're not even at your halfway mark
Yeah.
realistically if we live to
Yeah.
our full life expectancy. So that is like one thing that I do love to like constantly hear him say because I'm like, you know, me being 33, I'm like, oh man, I'm starting over, like I'm
I'm
going to
ready to
school.
go. Woo.
Yeah, woohoo, 33. So like it just going back to school and they're like 21-year-olds and I'm like, well shit, like am I too old? Like there's these kids like and I'm struggling with certain, you know, topics and these kids are like, oh, I'm getting A's and B's and I'm like, well shit. And then so you're like
And you're like, whatever.
I don't so it's like it's hard because it's like, well shit, am I getting too old? Maybe I should just, you know, stick with something that I know is gonna work instead of trying something new. But one thing Gary Vee does say, he's like, you're in your 30s and 40s, shut up and just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, sticking with something that just like pays the bills, it's like, that's so people are never happy when they're just like, it pays the bills. I remember my dad, I used to say, like, Dad, did you have fun at work today? He's like, no, it's called work. That's why they call it work. If it was fun, they'd call it fun. And I'm like, that was the most depressing shit I've ever heard, Dad. Like, oh my God. And I mean, I think that generation of like, right, the boomers or whatever, they have this more look on life that's like, don't take risk. Just do the things that put the roof over the head. Like, and also hoard a bunch of shit in your garage. Like, just keep it, keep things. All of our parents, like, keep stuff. I'm like, what is this for, Daddy? He's like, I might use it. I might sell it. My dad sells shit on eBay. He does a fantastic job of it, but he also has a huge industrial sized garage that I just go shopping at every time I'm home because he doesn't get rid of shit. And that's the generation. They just like, they're like, oh, I need this ribbon. I'd use it one day. I'm like, why? What did you do that?
Okay, like
all of our parents.
I low-key am like that sometimes. I'm like, oh, I might need this.
I limit myself to like 2 junk drawers. What's that? 2 junk drawers.
I'm trying to think how many I have. I definitely have at least 2. I think my whole nightstand is like just junk drawers because I'm like, oh, I might need this, and then yes or move. I do try to splurge and or purge and just donate things that we don't need or I haven't worn in a while. But there are some things that end up becoming like sentimental that you're like, oh.
And then when you die, you're like, here, kids, here's my shit.
Yeah. So I feel bad for my kids that are gonna have to go through all.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4.
4, okay. You have enough kids to split it up. Yeah. You could all have even amounts.
Yeah. Well, here's a little junk drawer for you. Here's another.
You get this junk drawer. Yeah. You get the nightstand.
Yeah, I'll do that. So I do have another question. So, like, you mentioned going from Uncle Sam, like, telling you everything, doing, like, to do this. And I know as a businesswoman, like, because like you said, like, you didn't know Inc., like, you had to be a incorporation or, like, what an LLC is. And it is a lot of learning because I've also had to do that, too, with, like, my fitness business. Like, just.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not clearly as successful as your canine business. Like, I don't have employees, but
one day, girl, you might, if you want it.
Yes. Yes. So anyway, that's a long dream, but like, how did you transfer from that mental state of being told everything from Uncle Sam to essentially doing it all on your own?
It's so hard to like, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is like when you first started, that is so like present. Like we're only present, like where we're at right now. It's really hard to like imagine who we were when we first started things. So it's funny reflecting back and thinking back to like how I was. I remember when I first started my Squarespace website, I had 2 windows open. It was a window on YouTube of how to build your website, and then the other window was my Squarespace website. And I would just like press play, okay, learn, press pause, go do. And so I did that for like 8 to 10 hours, and I just became like obsessed with it. And then when I was learning a lot of dog training, I was a cop, and I'd spend a lot of time in a vehicle, in too many hours, so I spent that time becoming obsessed with what I was learning. And I just watched a ton of dog training videos and seminars, and I watched a ton of videos on Squarespace. And so I think it really becomes an obsession in a way that to become a successful entrepreneur, you have to, I don't know who says this, but you have to like want it more than you want to breathe. I want to say that's this motivational speaker, Eric something. You really do have to want it more than you want anything else, because if you like halfway want it, you might stumble upon success. But I just knew that I didn't like being in the military anymore because I wouldn't even say I was jaded from the first duty station thing. I just knew that like I always used to say like, oh, you could send a freaking chimpanzee to my job with a Nerf gun and like you'd get the same result. Like I don't do anything, Granted, some days we responded to some crazy shit and like the chimp would probably not do such a great job, So like I did have a job some days where it was hard, but 90% of my job was me just like flatlining. Like I felt like I was withering away to absolutely nothing. And I just remember thinking like, I just felt this like burning sensation inside of me that was like, you need to do something, you need to do something, you need to do something, you know? And so I really found something that like I had fun with. And I think that's important when it comes to like entrepreneurship or wanting to get out of what you're in right now. If so you're in like, you make 80 grand a year at an office job, but you're dying inside. Your brain is flatlining every single day. Find something that you are having fun with and become obsessed with learning and become a subject matter expert. You know, in Air Force, they call it the SME. Become the SME on whatever thing you are obsessed with, that it can also maybe make you money. And, you know, that saying is like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Like, no, that is wrong. That is wrong. Sometimes what you love becomes this thing that you never want to see anymore, you know, so you have to balance obsession with toxic workspace that you've created over time. I think one thing entrepreneurs do very, very well is overload themselves and wear too many hats that just don't fit properly. And then you're out here just like, oh, this hat kind of fits. It's hurting my head a little bit, but I'm trying. You know, I'm doing sales, I'm accounting, I'm a business owner, I'm trying to do a website, I'm trying to do Facebook ads, I'm trying to do TikTok. And then at the end of the day, you're just like, I'm going to go back to the 9-to-5 job because that was easier to clock in and clock out. And then you're right back where you started and you're unhappy. And at this point, I forgot your original question. But like when you're doing this stuff, I think it's really important to delegate. The military teaches us to delegate. And entrepreneurs have to delegate. And you have to delegate before you are prepared to delegate. Because by the time you are ready to delegate, you're drowning in leads, you're drowning in this, you're drowning in emails, you're drowning in phone calls. And so you have to create the guides to help you delegate on Friday, but you really have to delegate on Monday because by Friday it's going to be too late and your person's not going to be trained to help you when Friday gets here. So you need to delegate Monday. So Friday, you're like, hit the ground running, smooth sailing. Monday is going to be scary because you're like, I don't know if I even have enough to delegate someone to do something, but it forces you to get your systems in order because a lot of creators and entrepreneurs, they have all the systems in their head. They couldn't tell you how to, I'm sure you couldn't tell me how to do your fitness stuff because it's like probably a little bit teed up in your head. Maybe you can't. Sorry, I'm not trying to like insult your systems or anything, but maybe your systems are not in line with like regurgitating it to someone else, but they make total sense up here. It's like this total language that you get up here. But then when it's time to hire somebody else, you're like, oh shit, how do I put this on paper? So just becoming obsessed with systems and processing and doing all this stuff to help you become, not even make more money, brain dump all the shit that you don't need to do. Brain dumping is such a good feeling when it helps you grow, actually.
That is true. That's also another learning strategy that I learned from that book.
Yeah, cool.
Delegation is definitely something I have learned as well because, you know, you're right. Sometimes you just, you get to the point where you're wearing so many hats and then at that point you're like, I don't even want to do this anymore because you're just working more than what the return is sometimes.
Yes.
And that's when you kind of get burnt out and you're like, well, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. And then you, again, go into this cycle because you also have to realize like you have to be self-aware on how much you could truly handle and create that work-life balance like you talked about. So talk about a little bit about your business and the podcast that you have.
Okay, sure. So my business is called Dog Boss Canine Training, DAWG BOSS. Look, I actually have this new hoodie that I just had made. It's really cute. I'm proud of it. So it's just this cool little hoodie.
Oh my God, that's cute.
Also, if you ever need merch that's really cheap, I just get it on AliExpress. This is for me and my stuff. I buy like the cheapo stuff right now. We don't have any merch that we sell, but this works for cute stuff around the neighborhood. So my company, Dog Boss, it is meant to help owners like their dogs more. A lot of owners love their dogs, but they don't really like them. I would joke around with all my clients with kids. I'm like, that's how all of our parents felt about us. So I go, don't really like them sometimes. There's 6 of us. How do you like that all the time? Like, when you have 4, you're like, man. Kids are so fun, but man, they consume every ounce of your brain, for sure.
No disagreement there.
So my business is built around helping people enjoy their dogs more, and it's a dog training company, but I think when people first hear dog training, they think obedience. I don't like obedience for solving problems. I like telling a dog to sit and it sits. I like heeling a dog and it doesn't pull on the leash. I like all of them. Obedience doesn't solve problems, just like just putting your head down and forgetting about the trauma that I went through doesn't help me do a better job at my job. So a clear mental state helps me do a better job at my job. Just like with dogs, a clear mental state helps dogs do a better job of living in your house successfully and not being this thing where you're just like, ugh, stop it, don't touch me, stop doing that, stop touching that, stop chewing on that. If you go to your friend's house and they have that dog, you're like, I also have a dog, but really in your head you're like, get off of me, stop touching me. We all have, like, you probably have a dog you're in right now. So I really focus on classical conditioning, operant conditioning, which if you're familiar with psychology, you've probably heard those terms. Operant conditioning is where the dog is in control of what is happening to it, rewards, punishment-wise. Classical conditioning is what happens to us every single day. Your phone rings, ping, your phone text message goes off, ping, it's like so-and-so coming in. So classical conditioning is just, you take your dog outside, you say, go potty, feed your dog. Pretty soon, the term go potty triggers your dog's brain to go, I'm going to go pee because I want a treat. And so you can literally train your dog to go pee or poop on command and trigger the brain, just like when you see a commercial, your mouth salivates because you're classically conditioned to see it. Feel the sizzling, your mouth is like, oh my God, here, baby, yes, please. So I focus on the mental state of training a dog versus obedience and all that flashy crap. It's like, you'll see a lot of dog trainers online teaching place and recall and sit and down in public. And I've trained so many dogs that can shake and they want to chew my face off, like they're that aggressive. Or I have clients, their dogs can roll over, but they're so scared and timid that they walk around dragging their bellies on the floor because they're terrified of life. And so my business really focuses on helping animals and humans have a really cohesive relationship with each other that's built out of confidence and trust, but also teaching owners how to be good cop, bad cop, because just like our moms and dads, they're all good cop, bad cop to us too. We, as soon as they're like, oh, Brittney Howard, get over here, I'm like, oh shit, versus they're like, hey, happy birthday, Brittney. I'm like, oh, amazing, so they hold both titles right there. And that is important because dogs respect, just like children, they respect boundaries and rules. And whoever's a really, really fun parent, the kids are like, whoever is kind of like, don't do that, they kind of cling to them more because it's that continuity and kids can count on it and dogs can count on it. So in my company, we do a few different programs. We do one-on-one lessons where I would come to your house and work with you for an extended amount of time, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever you want to do, kind of depending upon what we decide as a team. And then we also do board and train programs where we're just like, I hit that easy button. I have 4 kids. I don't have time to train this dog, but I just want this dog to like just chill and stop stealing pizza from the kids. So you give me the dog for 3 weeks. I train it. I have you come over to my house halfway through, jumpstart your learning. We do a 2-hour go-home session at your house to make sure everything is kosher and you know what's going on. We do a follow-up lesson a week later, and then we have a new program where we do 6 lessons afterwards, long-term. So 1 lesson a week, 1 lesson a month to make sure you know what's going on. We do free group training for all of our clients. I have a Facebook group for all of my clients. My whole goal is to educate, just like how we were talking about my domestic, is that people weren't educated. They didn't know how to help me. So just like my clients, I want to make sure they're educated so they know how to help their family and their dogs, because a bad dog can create a lot of tension in a marriage, a lot of tension in a relationship. It can create a lot of scared kids. And so my whole goal is to just, I love dogs, but I love people learning. I always teach people learning. I always tell my clients, every single human inside of your house, I don't care if it's a guest, is more important than that dog. And that's where I vary from a lot of dog trainers, is because a lot of dog trainers are like, well, you shouldn't even own that Australian Shepherd or that German Shepherd or whatever. The client's the idiot and so stupid, I am a big advocate for the owner, the people. People are uneducated. They don't know what they don't know. They're doing the best that they can with the information that they have at that time. And so I really want to advocate for the owners I want them to feel comfortable, happy, and when they're happy and they don't feel incompetent with their own dog, then the dog actually gets taken care of because the dog follows a formula. I know, like dogs train on different things, but they do follow a formula. They know reward, they know punishment. And owners, they're much more complicated. They have all these factors running in their life. Everybody has different learning styles. Maybe they have a learning disability. Maybe there's a language barrier, So that's why people are my favorite part of this business, is because they're so complex, and I can really relate to, not understanding something, but wanting to understand. And I've really crafted my ability to break down learning in a simple way that anybody can understand. And so that's something I really pride myself on, is my ability to teach something to someone in a manner that they comprehend and they retain. Retention is the most important part in dog training and just in life when you're learning anything, is if you're learning it, but you don't retain it, then why'd you even do it? It's like I'll read a page and I'll read it 4 times and I'm like, what is this sentence saying? Let me go back. What is it? No. So that's why I do audiobooks. Yeah, the Audible. Audible's the only way.
Yeah, that's the same situation with me. So do you only do dogs in the Richmond, Virginia area? Do you travel? Do you do online? Or is it just locally?
It's very much so locally based, but I do online lessons and I do travel. And we pull from, surrounding states. I have clients from Jersey come bring me their dog. I have clients from Maryland drive here, bring me their dog. I've had clients from Oregon ship me their dog and I train it. So we're open to a lot of different people. I have family in Oregon and Idaho, and sometimes I'll go visit there and pick up lessons and clients there. Mostly it's just in the area, but I'm not against traveling. Traveling is more expensive because then people have to pay the flight, then they have to pay for your stay, and they have to pay for the training as well. And so that's something that doesn't really happen a lot. That's more like higher end luxury clients where they have a lot of like throwing around money. I don't have that kind of money, but if they want to, purchase my services, I'll be there. I'll do it.
That's awesome. I love that because my in-laws live in Pennsylvania, and I know they have like a puppy, and I was like,
Pennsylvania ain't far, girl.
I know,
that's
why I was like, yeah, okay, you're getting my wheels turning. So
there you go.
If people want to connect with you, to find you, how can people contact you?
So there's a few different ways to contact me. You can go to my website. That is dawgboss.com, DAWGBOSS.com. On social media, we are Dog Boss RVA, and that's for Richmond, Virginia, RVA, Romeo Victor Alpha. On TikTok, I am Dog Trainer B. That is the letter B, Dog Trainer B. And you can also call me, text me, 804-318-7948. That's our business line that comes directly to me. You can also text that number as well. There is a form on our website, so if you just go to our website, you can just click a form. Me or my assistant will reach out to you, and then we can get you guys scheduled for a free consultation or an in-person paid evaluation. We could do whatever you like. I love to talk to people on the phone about their dogs, so if anybody just wants to call and say, hey, my dog's killing me, if I do, how to help this, then maybe I can point people in the right direction.
Awesome. Well, I'll add all of that into the show notes. Brittney, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about something very, very personal that happened to you, but also your expertise on being an entrepreneur.
Of course. I'm happy to be here. Let me add in my podcast too. My podcast is called The Robotic Dog. It can be found on any streaming service, and that is just a podcast where I talk about everything dog training. People will submit questions. How do I get my dog to stop peeing on my floor? And I'll talk about it for an hour, and there you go. You can just listen to it on the road. But thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Yeah, I'll add that podcast into the show notes as well. So definitely give a listen to that. Again, thank you so much, Britt. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. Thank you so much for listening. And until then, we'll see you next week.
Bye.